What's up, everybody? This is Daxon here with Weaver Family Farms, as well as Noxide.org. The other day, I kind of came across this recipe. Just by over the past few months, I've been trying to get like the perfect cheese dip, and finally, this is my own creation. I got some ideas from here and there, and kind of put a few different things together. And this is what I feel like is the best queso cheese dip you can get. I'm gonna go over a few of the things you need. First of all, you need some Velveeta or some, Melton dip is like off-brand. Hamburger. You can choose to not have that, I guess, if you don't like the hamburger in your cheese dip, but I do. Green pepper. This is a green bell pepper. Some beef broth. A little bit of Colby Jack cheese. I just got the cubed ones because it's easier to add in. We already had it. A block of cream cheese, even though you're not even going to use a block. A little bit of chili powder, some butter, some mild diced tomatoes, which is also called Rotel. This is like an off-brand of Rotel. A little bit of salsa. This is some homemade salsa my wife made. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to use a little bit of it. And then you can use also some half and half. I think tastes a little bit better, or you can use milk. The more creamier milks, like whole milk or half and half, I feel like gives it a little bit better taste and helps keep it thick and creamy. And then I have the stove on already right now on, pretty well high. What I'm going to do is go ahead and put the hamburger in here and start cooking the hamburger. I don't want it to be completely like hard cooked, like well done. Still want it to be a little squishy, but of course done. So I'm gonna go ahead and get Also, here's one thing I forgot to mention. You can use this normal vegetable oil. This is like some, fancier oil, extra virgin olive oil. What I'm gonna do is add just a little bit. I just feel like it helps the hamburger, like I was talking about, stay more soft, but as well you want it to get cooked. So not too much. That's probably tablespoon or two. And I went ahead and turned that down so we can cook the hamburger a little bit slower. Go ahead and do here, obviously, because I want it to be little pieces ground up. You can stay here for a while and start cooking it. This is the first step. And while that is going, of course, I always add, anytime I cook hamburger, add some pepper, a decent amount. Gives a little bit more of a kick. And do just a tad bit of salt. While we're waiting, I didn't add much last time I made it, which is the first time I actually came across this deliciousness. Take my pepper, and I'm gonna cut it. I don't even know, I probably used like 1/8 of a pepper the last time. I'll probably take, I don't know, it kind of, depends how spicy you want or how much of a pepper, an actual pepper tastes. I'll probably use maybe about 1/4 or 1/3 maximum of this pepper. I'm just going to cut it up in tiny little pieces and slowly kind of cook it in with the hamburger as the hamburger cooks to give it a little bit of the green pepper cut up. Like I said, I don't use very much. I honestly don't even like green stuff, but in this, it gives this such an amazing taste. You can use more if you want to. Get it all in there, and then start stirring it up. Like I said, it kind of adds that good taste into the hamburger. I'm trying to video with one hand and cook with the other here. Turn it up just a little bit. And there I got it on about 7. So then, let's see, the next thing we can do, we can go ahead and add our chili powder. Again, no exact measurements really on any of this. Is kind of what I came up with. Maybe a teaspoon or so. And come back through. Start stirring it, make sure everything gets mixed really well. The hamburger gets chopped up really finely and good. You don't want a whole bunch of chunks when you're eating the cheese dip. You're going to be able to get it mixed throughout the cheese pretty easily. Next on the list, we're going to add, again, depends how much you want. Last time I used about 1/2 or 3/4 of a can. You can use a whole can if you want. This time I'm making a little bit bigger of a batch. We'll go ahead and add our Rotel in. So I'm going to open up this can, dump it in as soon as our hamburger is getting pretty close to cooked, because when I put this in, you're more or less going to heat it up with it and start stirring. You can choose to drain the juice out or not. So I dumped in I don't know, that's probably 1/2 or 3/4 of the can right there. I don't want too much. I can always add some more in a little bit. So I'll set that to the side. Everything we add, you want to keep stirring it. And wait, 30 seconds to a minute before each thing you add in. I'm not sure how important the order is. It's just kind of the order that, to me makes sense. Next, we're going to be adding our butter. Of course, seems like anything cheese, macaroni and cheese or anything, you need some butter. Last time I added, a few tablespoons. So you can do probably 2 or 3 tablespoons depending on how much you're making. Again, we're making a pot about this size. So 2 or 3 tablespoons is about right. Don't add very much of this either. I actually just squeezed probably 1/5 or 1/4 of this in last time. So I'll squeeze this out with my butter and I can add those the cream cheese and the butter in. And we'll start stirring that, and that should start melting, here. Shouldn't take too long. The butter melts faster than the cream cheese. But we'll kind of get it broke up and going in there as well. And at this point, you should start getting a really good, like, spicy taco smell or something like that. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but it smells really good. And like I said, I don't even really eat vegetables, so that's a lot coming from me. So get all that melted, give it a couple minutes. Go ahead and add in some of our salsa, not too much. I just add, a 1/4 cup or something like that. See how full the jar is now? I might use half of this jar added in there. So now we are left with 4 things. Our 1/2 and 1/2 or milk, whichever you're using, and I only have about 1/3 of this left, so I'll have to make do with what I have, but that should be about right. Our can of beef broth, and then our 2 kinds of cheese. So I'll go ahead and get this ready. I'm going to add about 1 cup to 1.5 cups of the cheese. I'll probably add half of what's left in this bag, so I don't know, 10 to 15 of these cubes. Again, guys, I apologize, I don't have any measurements. I just kind of throw this together and it tastes really good, so I'm sure if you get even a little bit off, it's still gonna taste good. I will probably add, once again, all of this. And I usually add, your 1/2 and 1/2 milk and your beef broth at the end, because that kind of gives your color and your consistency, so you kind of know when to try it. So next we're going to go ahead and do the cheese. Obviously there's either easy, so I'll do those after the Velveeta. I'll use this, and I'm probably going to use, I don't know, between 1 cup and 1.5 cups, I believe I said. So maybe half of this right here looks about right, and then about half of what's left in this bag, so about 1/4 of the Colby Jack cubed. And I'm sure you can use other cheese, but I found this does melt pretty good. A lot of cheese don't seem to want to melt. This tastes good, so you can kind of experiment. Right now, this is kind of what we got going on. Again, still smells really good. It's kind of a soupy mixture. And last time what I did with some of the liquids, which is just, from the vegetables and everything all combined, as well as the butter, I dumped just a little bit of that out to thin it out, because we're going to be adding the beef broth in our milk, or 1/2 and 1/2, and that's obviously going to make it a lot liquidy, and we don't want it too liquidy for a dip. So I'm going to go ahead and strain some of this out. So our hamburger is pretty well cooked. Everything is melted, the cream cheese, butter, everything's melted. And kind of have the soupy mixture. Even after draining some, I left about half of the liquid in there. So now I'm going to put the Velveeta. It'll take a while to melt, so I turn down the burner. You want to make sure to keep stirring it. Get that Velveeta nice and melted, and then we will come to the few final steps with the broth, your milk, or 1/2 and 1/2, and then the other piece of the cheese. I'll usually sit here and kind of slowly cut this in half and kind of help it along with melting. But it should start getting pretty dang thick after this Velveeta melts. To add our cheese cubes of the other kind of cheese. Gives it a little bit more cheese flavor. You can see it's starting to get really orange, matching the color of the cheese. And that's good at this point. And then we add our broth into it. Then we're going to start to get a off color, like a halfway between brown and orange. And I found that's when the flavor is right about perfect. Again, kind of experiment with your thickness and your flavor, kind of get how you want it. But this is a really good base of what I think is the best queso ever. the restaurant called Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen. There's a lot of Cheddar's. It's a chain restaurant. I think they have amazing queso. And in my opinion, this is very, very, very close. And I got lucky with messing around. I drove my wife crazy. Probably tried to make cheese dips like probably 50 times over the past month. Multiple times even in a night. And now I am finally satisfied with something that tastes really, really, really good. So give this another 5 to 10 minutes to get this, you know, really, really mixed up. But we can go ahead and add our milk in, no problem. Get it open over here. Again, I'm using half and half because I think it tastes a little bit better with cheese dip and stuff. I only had about between 1/4 and 1/3 of this, so not too much added in there. Maybe, I don't know, 1/2 cup, 3/4 of a cup, something like that. And that'll change our color just a little bit, but shouldn't too much. But when you come to the broth, that's where I feel it's really important to make sure that's even with the cheese. I feel like with if you take everything out besides the cheese we've added, you'd want about the same amount of cheese as you do broth in a way, but you don't want to have more broth than you do cheese. You want it to be pretty even, and I found that's where you get a good taste. You can see about how full this is right now. When I add the broth, we should get about right up into here somewhere, about halfway between being completely full. And once again, this will brown more in color. See if I can get the light a little brighter here. Oh, this is as bright as it's gonna get, but it'll brown more in color, you know, because the broth is obviously a dark brown color. So yeah, wait a little bit while the cheese melted, and I did go through and add about another 1/2 cup total of cheese, of both cheese, whatever cheese you want to add, mostly Velveeta, because I felt like the dip was getting a little too thin, and we haven't even got to add the beef yet, so we add a little bit more cheese to thicken it up. Again, I'm not trying to make soup, trying to get dip. And of course, you can always add flour to thicken stuff up, but however, I feel like that, you know, changes the taste a little bit, so I'm gonna try to avoid doing that. And also when it cools down, it will thicken up. But all right, so our color, orange. It is really hot, so it's not quite as thick as it should be. When it cools down a little bit, it will be though. But overall, it's pretty thick. Very carefully with one hand, I'm going to add about 1/2 can or so of this beef broth. Hopefully not gonna make a mess and run it down the side of the can. Carefully. Just a little bit more. You see I use about 1/2 the can. Set that out of the way. Now when you start stirring this up, we should start seeing our color change a little bit. If you get it too thin, you do want about that much beef broth in there. So if it gets a little too thin, you can still add a little bit more cheese, you know, thicken it up. But right now our consistency is right about on. Once again, you know, I still have this pretty warm over here. So when it does start cooling down, you know, when you put the burner on low and, you know, get it in your bowl and get ready to eat it, you know, it definitely will thicken up quite a bit. Make sure that's stirred up really good. Once you get it stirred up as good as you can, what I do is turn this all the way down to like 1 or low, either one. And we are going to let it kind of chill out here and start cooling down for 5 to 10 minutes, and it should start thickening up for us. And I'm gonna try it, and hopefully it tastes good. Oh yeah, and this is something really important. Even though it's 4 in the morning, I've been working on websites, haven't went to sleep yet. Anyway, make sure you got something good to drink when you're cooking, as always. So love some good Pepsi. So healthy. So still very hot. I'm gonna get a little bit on the chip and try it. Hopefully it tastes good. Get some of the good stuff on there if I can. And like I said, when, you know, after it sets just a little bit, 5-10 minutes actually, maybe 15 or 20, and starts cooling down to where it's still warm and you know, warm enough to eat. You don't want it cold or nothing, but it will start to thicken up. But here we go. I'm gonna try it. Cool it off a little bit. Tastes amazing. You guys gotta try this. Thumbs up. Even come back after you make it. Thumbs up if you like it. Comment if you got any questions or suggestions. Subscribe. I'm always making some type of cool video. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. See y'all later. Bye-bye.